Welcome to Human Design Mastery. I'm Lavina Archers, your Education Director for Jovian Archive, which is the source of the Human Design System. And we are going to dive into leadership success. Because human design points to mechanical truths that you can absolutely experiment, validate, test, and see if it's right for you to source into. You're going to find that over time, as you align yourself to your most authentic, highest path and purpose, that life changes for you, so that your decisions, your relationship, your business, and your business partnership, as we're going to talk about today, actually brings you the kind of fulfillment that you're truly looking for, whether that be satisfaction, success, peace, or surprise. All of that is a signpost of the abundance of spirit that arises from inside. So it is the end of the age of dependencies. I'm sure you've seen that all around the world in your countries, wherever you happen to be. When we unlock the work success secrets of ourselves in partnership, we're going to explore not only our aura or type interactions, but also what kind of definition your human design shows, your natal design, how you're here to make decisions that you trust, which we call strategy, in order for you to be your own authority. And then today we're going to talk about key partnership dynamics. Now, this whole system, Ra wanted us to present to you as an experiment. Reason being is because we're entering into the new age, a new kind of enlightenment, where we're talking about you being your own authority. Again, the end of the age of dependencies. What we're looking forward to, and indeed are already experiencing the benefits of, is that this new era is not just about being an individual, but it's about being your own sovereign, being free to be the nature of being the way that you were designed to be. Now, for a lot of you who are super slaving away at a job that you hate, I have to do this, you might say, that might seem like a pipe dream. But for those of us like here on my team who have tasted the sweet benefits of what it is to be sovereign and free, I know you'll agree with me when you get on the other side of this human design experiment and you know how you're here to actually live and breathe and be yourself in single interactions. Like right now, I'm working alone in my own aura. That's called solo. But two, I have a connection with you. I'm speaking to you personally and specifically. I'm not thinking about all of you. I'm thinking about you, as in you coming into this human design experiment to see what it's like to be yourself in business. So, are you designed to thrive in a one-on-one interaction like all of us who are here on the team, projectors, are designed to do? Or are you here to be yourself in business, best thriving in a small business, 3 to 5 people? Or are you best in a large group dynamic? That's what you're going to learn in our mastery series here that we're offering to you complimentary in order that you get a taste for the power that human design holds for you, should it be right for you to experiment with it and see. Is it true for you? The sessions that I have for you here are helping to lay the fundamental groundwork here today, specifically of being yourself in partnership. Now we're looking at the keys to your genetic potential using your human design blueprint. It's a genetic blueprint for the fulfillment of not only your life's work, but how are you here to interact with others? What work situation, context, set and setting is going to feel most satisfying, peaceful, successful, surprising, what have you, so that you can unlock the success secrets of your human design. Again, we're going to be using some terminology that may be new to you, your aura type, or the frequency that you broadcast, that you emanate, your definition, or the things that are actually colored in your human design chart, and how you might be your own authority. So first things first, remember to experiment. As somebody who is designed to partner, I have a lot of repeating patterns in my design that speaks to the nature of partnership being my sweet spot. It is absolutely one of the benefits of experience that I hold for you, as Naraya did share. I've been teaching human design for 11 years now, professionally, working with Jovian Archive, source of the human design system, since 2014 as a professional. So if you are going to thrive as yourself, it's always going to be that you hold the key, not me, not Ra, it's you being your own authority. When I say that word, anybody here own authority? Does that sound foreign to you as a concept? We do want to know. Type into the chat if you need a little help with that. Because if you are not able to take responsibility for your decision-making process, you're going to be lost in this new era. 2 more years, less than, truly, as far as the frequency changing and this vast tidal sea of change that we're all surfing. You don't want to get left behind when it comes to being your own authority. It is about sourcing inside of you. No one is coming to save or rescue you. It's time now to step up into your own true authentic being. So again, you need to know yourself first. And to do that, you've got to experiment. The free keys to your divinity, your divine nature of being in physicality are right there on mybodygraph.com. So you will need that chart to follow along today, unless you happen to be one of the professionals that are watching in order to learn more of the deepening of how to do this work. I happen to be an example of that. So the membership is free. The first step is free. Thanks to Ra Uru Hu, founder and first messenger of human design, and his family, who still own and operate the business of Jovian Archive and the family of places that we curated and developed in order that you can see how to be your own authority. Now, in today's day and age, there is no end to hierarchy. Human beings are designed differently. So to fly in the face of modern humanity, we are not created equal. We are created different. And your aura type, which determines how you're here to interact with others, your definition, which shows you how you're here to process energy, and your authority guides your correct decision-making. Indeed, inside of that, we all have a unique personal destiny, a transpersonal karma, or a fixed kind of fate. Now, ultimately, the end of this movie is we all die. I know if you are someone who has ever had a brush with death, anybody ever had some kind of experience where you came grips to grips face to face with your mortality, and then you're like, okay, time to take this somewhat seriously, not too seriously. I mean, still have some fun here, but actually put into practice the thing that you know to be true about you. Most of the time when people come to design, they find confirmation. They find some permission slip, you could say, to being themselves instead of listening to maybe their mind or everybody around them telling them what to do. It's about ending that dependency. You do not need somebody to tell you what to do. And in partnership, who really wants that? To unlock the work success secrets of your design, well, yeah, sometimes, I'll tell you when we get to story time, sometimes people are looking for, I want somebody to tell me what to do. I want to obey him or her or whatever it happens to be. But that's falling further and further by the wayside. It is not the way of the new era. It's about being your own sovereign, to know yourself deeply and completely. So again, grab your My Body Graph chart. Let's go into the work success secrets of your partnership analysis. Now, as we are part of Human Design Mastery, this is about developing your recognition and your skills for being your own authority. And to put these keys into practice, I'm going to ask you to come away with whatever it is, the most important thing that surprised you. So keep an eye out for that thing that really surprises you about you today, okay? The thing that you were like, oh my God, that's totally correct. How did you know that about me? Or, you know, I always figured that there was something quote unquote wrong with this or that or the other thing. whatever it happens to be, what surprises you. It's going to help you learn today as we move through the 4 different work situations. Now, again, solo is about being in your own aura, doing your own thing, being your own boss, whether that be independent contractor or whatever the case may be. Partnership, 2 ways I see partnership. Now we're talking about being in aura, physically in aura. Partnership I see as, okay, you can have a contract. As an example, I have a contract with Jovian Archive, and that contract is for my work with Human Design Mastery. So that means then my company is partnered with their company. Now that's a very different story than myself and my husband, who are also partnered, not only in marriage, but also in business together. And we live and work together, so we are constantly in each other's aura. Now, we live on opposite ends of the house as far as our day-to-day lives, and our bedrooms are even separated. Now, it's a 6,200 square foot house, so we have lots of space. He is absolutely not in my aura the vast majority of the time when I'm working. So that, even though we are, working together, but separated apart, we can come together for the time engagement where I need him or he needs me, where I borrow his energy. Now, borrowing his energy means, honey, I just need to use your aura. Can I sit next to you while I focus and concentrate? We happen to have one of those channels together. Or, babe, I can't figure this out. Can you please help me? And then together, how can I get my computer screen to work? Or how can I deal with this difficult customer or employee? Truly, I work for my employees because I help provide them money. So I'm bringing in energy, money for my employees to work with me. Now, none of my employees are here in aura with me. However, I still look at our connective field together because in that way, we can see the strengths, the core features of our relational dynamics, the thing where they complement me because I don't have an aspect of what it happens to be that I absolutely need. As an example, I have 2 people on my team who have a gate 2, and I have the 14 on the other side. So in that dynamic, absolutely, when it comes to our relational dynamic, even though we're at a distance, yes, we can still use this information. But primarily and most importantly, when it comes to the small grouping, we're using different keynotes, different language, and we're talking about what happens when the people come together in aura. This auric frequency field changing and new keynotes coming to the fore only happen when you're in person, okay? In person. We'll talk more about that next week. Finally, we have large groupings. The small group happens to be 3 to 5 people maximum. That is the maximum that creates a small group. But when we put 3 of those small groups together, plus 1 alpha, then we have a large group. And those, again, we use different keynotes, different labels, you could say, different energetic availabilities for language to communicate to you what this person actually has within their genetic matrix to do, okay? So when we're looking at solo, I want you to think about people being independent and productive, because that's what it takes to be in solo business by yourself, for yourself. Independently productive. Okay. Partnerships, we're looking at one-on-one. It's a synergy of 2 people together. Okay. Now, when we look at small groups, we're looking at 3 to 5 people. And sometimes those small groups work together in rotating partnerships. So small group, the moment that you've got 3 to 5 people in aura to arm's length distance, now you're talking a whole different can of worms, I want to say, that I'm going to leave off till next week as far as going into now, because we're going to have a whole class on this, thanks to Human Design Mastery. And then the large group. This is about 10 or more people physically in aura. It does not work. The keynotes, the language, the frequency field, the energetic flow. It does not work when you are listening to a podcast. Or here's an example. If you are physically at a stadium, you know that energy when you're watching a ball game or whatever it happens to be, whatever ball you want to play with, okay? If you're in that stadium, you feel a different energy. I can feel it. I've got feeling cognition, but you sense, are a part of something more greater than just yourself. When you're sitting at home on the couch watching that ball game, it's a very different story, okay? It's a different energetic frequency, just to understand the basics, the fundamentals. So, understanding which of these 4 work situations are best for you to thrive in, to be the most productive, the most satisfied, peaceful, successful, surprised, fulfilled, is one of the most important keys I can give you. Ra called it comparative analysis. This is one of the most important keys I can give you, the most valuable, the most profound, truly. So, strategy and authority, or being your own authority, making your own decisions that you can trust, is the most important thing that you have, tools in your toolkit, to be successful in business. It is the foundation of all of our success as far as correct decisions, workplace success, you being your own authority. So never make partnership choices from a place of, they said I should, so I'm gonna, or I think I have to, so I must, as in believing the mind story. When we use human design, we're sourcing into the furtherance of our differentiated potential. And that means trusting your own design to be your own authority, to find the right partnerships. Now, I'll tell you from experience, I've made the mistake of seeing somebody's chart and going, oh, I need that. Let's work together. And shit, I don't even want to go there. It was a really chaotic mess, believing that person's story when they turned out to be quite shady. And then also just thinking, because I finally have that missing piece, now everything's going to be a-okay. That was quite a long time ago. So please don't just look at the chart and say, oh, this is going to be amazing, because it's not. There are way too many factors to put into the conversation to look at a chart. In fact, Ra was given the opportunity to have a matchmaking business, and he tore up that contract because he said, nope, this is the epitome of what it is to make a not self or a shadow state decision. We don't want that for you. So remember, please be your own authority. Now, solo, partnership, small or large group. Everybody's going to go through a life experience where you're going to feel, sometimes it might feel better to go solo. And sometimes it might be better to be in partnership. And at other times, you're like, I'm okay with working in the small group. And then some other times, maybe, just maybe, you might want to, for short periods of time or for experience, be in a large grouping. That large grouping, for someone like me, is terrorizing, not to be dramatic. It is quite challenging. It's incredibly awful, to say the least. So you've got to know yourself and experiment with these genetic keys. What is it like for you to have success in the workplace? And it's not about the money. It is about you having the freedom to be what you came here to be, who you came here to be, for the people that are right for you to commune with or to be with. Now, when we talk about partnership, we're truly looking at 2 people physically in aura. 2 people physically, that's what it has to be in partnership. Now, day in and day out, that might not be right for you for many different reasons. For example, I'm a 3rd line. Okay, so bonds made and broken are my theme. Coming together, doing my own thing. Oh, and let's communicate together. Let's commune. Let's share. Let's empower each other. And then, nope, I'm doing my own thing. So there's always going to be different times in your life, different seasons of availability, different energy availability, different people, obviously. People are not created equal. You look at that chart and it may look exactly the same on the surface. Even so, There's so much different nuance, subtlety, stuff underneath that you have no idea. Everybody's unique, divinely different. You'll see if you study with us. Now, when it comes to this partnership dynamic, the first step that we want to look at is type, your auric frequency field. Now, your aura builds your body. I like to say that form follows function. Your form, built by your aura, is about the function that you're here to have in this reality currently that we live in. So if you can just experiment with your own strategy for decision making in order to find the peace and abundance of surprise, success, satisfaction, whatever it happens to be for you inside. And then you're going to find that this carries you through a lot of challenges. So you still get challenges, but they're the ones that are right for you to handle. The next step that we're going to go into is definition. Definition is a lot of the story, but further, we have some special considerations, of which I've only got a handful. There's so many on this particular topic, and it has to be that we look at it in context with charts. So that's when we're going to go look at charts together, if it's right for you to do so. Now, this cross of the sleeping phoenix, a word you may have been hearing bandied about, is a new era, a background frequency shift that we're moving into in 2027 to 2439. This is actually going to be a time of where traditional business structures will shift. You're already seeing that, because tribal loyalty is fading, because the new era is about being self-directed, self-empowered. It is about entrepreneurial endeavors. That's why you see entrepreneurial empowerment on the rise, people being their own boss, doing their own thing. And individual decision-making really is the key factor when it comes to successful partnerships. Here is the biggest lie. I have heard professionals actually teach who don't know what they're talking about because, one, they haven't studied the system deep enough from the source, Ra Uru Hu, or two, they weren't paying attention in class. I don't know. But here's one of the biggest unfortunate things I've ever heard from a student in my class, a very highly educated student. She was a mental projector, highly educated. I mean, taken all the things. Her first analyst told her that she had to follow her husband's sacral response rather than her own personal process of soundboarding, her own self-reflected consciousness, her own communication. So when it comes to partnership, please don't look down at a chart and say, well, the two of you are emotional together, so you've got to make emotionally based decisions. Wait for clarity. I'm sorry, but that's not the way that it works. See, sorry, not sorry. It's not the way that it works. You have to be your own authority. Even so, when it comes to you two being together in partnership. So example, you've got somebody like this. They're designed to be responsive and fast. I mean, this one, especially in the not self, they'll be really fast. Okay, their partner, because oftentimes what you'll find is the two people together, you'll see they look like puzzle pieces. Okay, the other person's emotional. So it means then you have to work a little bit harder to meet in the middle when it comes to what's right for both of you. Okay, so it's not about looking at the chart and trying to make up reasons why you should be what the partnership chart is. Now, true story, here's a quote from Ra. You never know your partner. You only know the thing the two of you become, unquote. It's a joke. I mean, seriously, not seriously. It is interesting to know that you will never know who your partner really is. I have a husband who's a 5-1. People get projected onto all the time who are 5-1s. And he's an undefined G center. I only know myself with him. I only know him with me. I do not know him in relationship to his friends. I can hear sometimes on the phone or see, but I don't know him really, truly. So the most important thing besides knowing yourself and the other is knowing what happens when the two of you come together in partnership? Partnership is the whole basis around which we build teams. So it's important to understand this before we go into the small groupings. Now, here we have a manifestor, Ra Uru Hu's chart, and here we have my chart, a projector. Never met the man, have listened to thousands of hours of his teachings, but have never met him. So obviously, if I put the two together, I don't really have a connection with him because he died before I started working for Jovian Archive. But there are connective fields between me and the man that I can resonate to when it comes to listening to his frequency or feeling his energy as I'm watching him teach. So that's not to say that you can't actually commune or connect with other people remotely. I'm showing you the extreme example. The man's dead. Obviously, I'm not having a relationship with him. However, because I have fully immersed myself into this system experience, I can come to grips with some of the things that he teaches or has trained us professionals to say. And one of those things is, are you going to be comfortable working in partnership? Let's go ahead and dive into that, shall we? Now, if we look at this chart together, let me grab a pen here. What you'll notice, first off, is that there is a split between my authoritative channel and the rest of our connective field. So in person, in aura, if I was with him, we would still have a split in the relationship. That means if we were to put our finger on one of these centers, these colored in centers, and try to sail like a boat through channels of energy to find the hookup to the rest of the design, we can't get there. We can't. There is no consistency of energy. That immediately poses a problem. Sometimes we might not be able to commune or communicate. Example, Lavina's sun is here, Mercury and Mars. So I oftentimes have difficulty communicating my feelings. The emotions are tucked down inside of me. They're not reaching the throat. So sometimes what I've noticed in relationships like this is that I won't say anything. It will take me, even with my husband, it'll take me a while to cycle through my emotional wave, process what happened, what he's saying, or what, I want to say. And then days later, I'll say something to him. Now, if you don't know that about your partner, imagine you're partnering with me and you're one of those spontaneous people. You're off there doing your thing and you're like, doing response or whatever. You're a manifesting generator with no emotional authority. To know that about your emotional partner, that, hey, this person needs more time to process, a little slow on the uptake sometimes, that oftentimes the best way that my mind learns is I'm thinking, processing about conversations from that morning. And then the next day I come back to the person and say, hey, have you thought about this? Have you considered that? And that's one of the reasons why I love these courses, because it gives me more time with you. I don't have energy to do one-on-ones, but to maximize energy, resources, and potential. People who are projected like me really like that sweet spot, especially if we're someone who is built to contribute to a small or even large grouping. It maximizes our energy. We're non-energy types. So there you have just a small snapshot of the things that we can look at. Now let's talk about type or your form. What's your form? What's your auric frequency? We just talked about the manifestor and projector, and in leadership success, we are going to go into all 16 variations of relational dynamics that you might have. For now, let's talk about the types as a big picture view. Overall, generator and manifesting generator as a subtype, they are one type. They are designed for sustainable work. If you're a generator, you have the energy to respond, to be available, to generate energy, to get the work done. So if you're like, well, I don't have a lot of energy, there might be something else going on. You're not responding, as in there's nothing for you to respond to right now. So that energy is not there. Or you've got some kind of health-based issue that's going on, adrenal fatigue, thyroid issues, what have you. A generator is designed to thrive when they're asked. So you manifestors out there, it's not about telling them what to do, even though that tends to come natural for you. Generators are here to work best with partners who respect their response ability, their ability to respond, who ask laser-focused questions, one concept at a time. So generators, to have a partner who respects your energetic frequency, who doesn't boss you around and tell you what to do, who knows you, obviously you can see that that is a very different kind of partnership. And it has to do with the basis of our fundamental nature, our reality, of which our auric frequency builds our body. So when we look at the generator, they can work you, if you have this, you are a generator, that red sacral square on the body graph. You can work very well in the right partnership. The right partnership for you gives you response and energy. When you have that energy and that freedom to use your energy in a satisfying way to be who you are for yourself with no apology, you're going to find that life shifts for you, that truly it is an inevitability that you come to the grips with being your own authority if you can follow either your sacral response, that red sacral energetic availability, a rise of energy, or a fall, a no. Or if you're emotional as well, to wait for clarity about the response that you get moment by moment by moment, okay? If we look at the generator, which is an energy type, and we look at the manifestor, which is another energy type, those two together can often work, but it's not the same kind of story as what it is when we have a projector and a generator working together. Those two, amazing. They are the engine that runs humanity, basically, because we're talking about almost 70% plus the 20% of the population. That's a lot of human beings. Manifestors about 10, reflectors about 1%. So the vast majority of human beings, and at work especially, these two, and in partnership, you're going to find them coming together. Now, a projector thrives in recognition. Recognition is a two-way street. Invitation to the big things in life, what to do for work, where to go to live, who to love, who to bond with, is the projector's strategy. Now, their authoritative principle is whatever it happens to be. Very complex creatures. Run your chart and you'll see. Projectors work best with those who acknowledge their guidance and their advice. If that being, let's say the manifestor, example, had a manifestor want to work for me. Repeatedly, what I heard out of their mouth was that they needed a stable income. The stable income coming from me, the projector, who is actually here to guide somebody else's energy for them to be their own boss in business. Obviously, I could hear that that wasn't going to work for me. The immediacy of the projector feeling drained in interaction with another is a big, huge red flag and a signpost. What happens is because the projector is running around trying to get other people to see them, that they accept any and all recognition, even without a formal invitation, to the detriment of their energy frequency, their availability to be successful. Guiding the other in their work is the primary factor for a projector to have its success. In partnership, this is ideal because one-on-one is the sweet spot for the projector. Projectors are here to know who the other is, to be advisors who can guide. So if you don't have systems mastery as a projector, how sad for you, because nobody's going to come to you for advice, guidance, wisdom, support, empowerment, sharing, what have you. So the most important thing you can do as a partner in business, as a projector, is to study. It's to master a system either of knowledge or a process whatever it is that happens to tickle your fancy, as in, what is the thing that's going to help you get the other person to know themselves so that they can be satisfied or successful or peaceful or surprised? This is what you're here to do, advise and guide. Now, last but not least, we have these who are very rare, not just the manifester as we have discussed, but the reflector. We're going to begin with manifestors. And the reason I separated this, normally you see people going manifestor, generator, projector, reflector. Separated this like this on purpose. These are energy types. These are non-energy types. But the manifestor and the reflector have a protective frequency field around them. Kind of like you can see with the manifestor, an auric bubble. So they really are designed to be independent and free, no matter what their definition has to offer. The best partnership for a manifestor is one that gives them freedom of action. They have to inform in order to reduce resistance, and they work best when partners respect their need for initiation and maintaining control, especially if they have a design that shows they either need to be in charge or in control. So partnership, as an aura type, you are here to initiate in order to impact through your freedom of action. So if that partner of yours doesn't give you freedom of action, first you're going to get irritated, then you're going to get angry. Informing others is the key to peace. So let's say, as an example, you're a 3, whatever kind of 3 profile manifestor. You know, like me, you need some space. You know, you need some time alone. Break the bond, make the bond, break the bond. You have to be in charge of making that bond. You don't have to wait for somebody else to initiate. And this is one of the challenges, especially for female manifestors, that I see. It's your job, your responsibility to initiate, to inform in order to have peace. Now, in partnership, a reflector is designed to be the mirror of their environment. So in a relationship, you're going to find that if you have a relationship with a reflector, that you meet different aspects of them over the lunar month, but also that you're just getting yourself back from the other because they're a reflector, literally. They thrive in partnerships that respect their need for space and time to have their own lunar process. So in partnership, if you are a reflector, reflecting and enlivening, uplifting the energy of others, reflecting the energy of others, like a cosmic judge. So you can work in partnership, but ideally your sweet spot is more in the large grouping, and we'll talk more about that as we continue on in this masterclass series. Now, I know you have questions. Feel free to use the chat. Feel free to use Q&A, and our assistants will commune with you. Next, we're going to go a little quicker over definition because you've already gone through solopreneur, most likely. If not, I do recommend watching that one first. So we're going to do a quick recap. How do you process information? This is about assimilating information through all of your circuitry. If you look down at your body graph, see it as a circuit board. I want you to see your body graph as a business. All of those solid channels between colored in centers, the colored in geometric shapes inside of that body graph, those are what you're here to do. It is the action or awareness or availability inside of you. Assimilation is how you process information based upon all of the relational dynamics between all of the channels that you have. So it's how you process or take in information. Real quickly, we have single definition, who tends to process information independently. We have basic splits, 2 areas of definition, tends to process information in collaboration. We have triple splits, 3 areas of definition that tends to process large amounts of information in a synthesizing way. And then we have our quadruple split. The quadruple split, 4 areas of definition. And these are really, they're looking for specific others, just like the basic splits. but they're very much subjective when it comes to how they process information. Look at the difference, vast difference, between a quadruple split, so many islands of definition. They're either going to have all 9 centers or maybe 8 defined, colored in, comparatively to no inner definition, no definition. That's the reflector. So these two quite rare, okay, really rare. When it comes to partnership, the ideal in partnership is the basic split and the quadruple split, where the quadruple split is looking for 2 different people that hook them up in a very specific way. They play favorites, okay? So that's what they're looking for. Basic splits, collaborative, you are built for partnership. No matter what your type happens to be, you're more likely to be more satisfied, successful, peaceful, having the right people, allies to work with, to collaborate with, to commune with. It really is that simple. But, of course, there's other factors, so let's continue to dive in. In our genetic wiring, remember, the neurons that fire together wire together when it comes to your genetic potential. Look at your body graph. The stuff in black is your personality. The stuff in red is your physiology, okay? Personality, the personality of the black is the way that you see yourself. The red is the way that other people see you. This is what you broadcast that your mind has no idea that you're putting out into the world. So when it comes to definition, we bring both calculations into the body graph and we see the relational dynamic between yourself and yourself, especially if you happen to be a basic split like me. Now, when we look to the nature of each definition, real quickly, single definitions have challenges when it comes to partnership. It's just the nature of what it is to be singly defined. As in, you don't need an other in order to process information. It goes through all of your circuitry without requiring an other person. The difference between that and a basic split is huge. Now, there are 3 different configurations of the basic split, but all of us are looking for the right partner, the ideal partnership. Life makes so much more sense when you're with somebody in business or otherwise that helps you feel like you're connecting with yourself or with them, even. True. So it can be ideal to partner as a basic split. However, triple split can partner. It's not necessarily ideal, especially if that triple split is being bridged by the partner, as in when we put the 2 charts together, we see everything connected up into one singular flow of energy. It can feel entrapping. It can feel uncomfortable. It can feel not freedom giving or loving. It just doesn't feel good to the triple to be locked in all the time to the same being. Whereas with a basic split, oh yeah, baby, you complete me. You make me feel whole in business and in life. I can talk to my husband in that way because he does absolutely bridge the split for me. So more neurons firing, you know, in order to have that kind of communion, it is ideal for a basic split to partner, not with just anybody, the right person. And that always comes down to you being your own authority, okay? Not what other people think of you or what they think you should do. Triple splits can partner, but it's not necessarily the ideal. They need freedom of movement. Quadruple split, we're looking at people, again, who play favorites, and they're looking for a certain kind of being. Just like the basic split is looking for a certain kind of being, quadruples are looking for 2 different kinds of being. So they may partner, alternating partnerships, we'll say, or favorites at the office. And it's not necessarily that they're always going to feel uncomfortable having one person bridge them entirely like the triple split, but to have different ways of being bridged, but specifically according to their preference or predisposition is going to be more satisfying or successful or peaceful, what have you, for this quadruple split to experience. And so those are some of the keys. Now, this last one, again, with the no definition, they could partner, the reflector, but it's not necessarily, it has to be the right person always, not necessarily going to be the most productive for them, because they are really well built for a larger grouping, the right larger grouping. So having gone through all of these different definitions, now you've got a key to not only knowing yourself, but also the other when it comes to your experience. What's it like for you? Did you find anything surprising, if this is new to you especially, that the single definition can be independent? So here's an example. Frustrated because nobody can keep up with you. Do you find that to be true? You don't need to rely on other people to bridge or find the other half missing piece. Not like the basic split. Basic splits, we need an other to feel that sense of unity, wholeness, congruency. For me, it's a consistency that I get with my partner. Triple splits, we're looking at movement. Movement is the most important thing for you. At the very top of the hierarchy of information that I've gotten or gleaned from human design. So learn from my systems mastery. Triple splits, you need movement. Naraya can speak more to that if you have any questions of her. She's there in the chat. Of course, in the course as well. Quadruple splits, working best when it comes to two different people that bridge its splits in a way that it specifically likes. Because it is designed to be quite subjective, that partner needs to be somebody who has a lot of openness, ideally, that they can, let's say, mold more to the quadruple, because the quadruple cannot mold to you. See the openness, the white areas in your body graph as flexibility and fluidity. It truly is where the sweet spot happens to be as far as you making money in business. And you learn that in personal success. Okay. So we're close to the top of the hour. I want to check in with my tribe and see what questions have come up that, Ryan, you feel should be answered at this juncture before we move on into special considerations.
So we had it. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
We had a question with regards to physical distance between team members.
Mm-hmm.
Given so many people work over Zoom today and online using online management systems, what kind of impact does that have for remote partners when considering their interactive dynamic in their designs, their connections?
So, yeah, it depends on the connective field. So if two people have met in aura personally, that connective field is going to be much stronger. Compare that to, let's say, a partnership where they lived and worked together. They were married, for Christ's sake, both working together. Let's say they split. It was amicable, but they continued on with the business. Obviously, they're going to have a way different connective field comparatively to like you and me, Ryan, where we've never lived together, we've never met each other, but we've known each other over the years and gotten familiar with each other's ways. That's quite different than somebody who's only met through chat and never had any communication. So there's all these different layerings. What would you like to add to that as a consideration or factor?
I think there's definitely an exchange of information that happens when you're in physical aura with another person that can't be replaced simply by experiencing them and their skill set and the way they communicate online. However, the more time that we spend together, working together, communicating, sharing of information, processes, you become familiar with people's energy. And I feel like the compatibility dynamics that are revealed in the chart are just as relevant, even though there's physical distance. There may be physical distance between people. And sometimes it may actually be more optimal. You never know.
Yeah, absolutely. As an example, if you have a lot of challenges in the relational dynamic between you and the other, distance, spaciousness gives us so much more grace to handle any challenges where we maybe butt heads, not because there's anything wrong with each individual partner. It's just when the two are connecting, some people don't see eye to eye. Some people don't even communicate in the same language. I might say a word that has a totally different meaning for you because you learned English in a different area of the world, you know? So better that we have communication. And there's a fallacy currently, and it's widespread. It is a problem. Oftentimes we have the illusion of communication if somebody has just chatted at each other. Oh, we've typed to each other. We've communicated. Not really. Even when you're face to face on Zoom like this and you're hearing each other speak, sometimes true communion doesn't quite happen. Now, it's not necessarily that you did something wrong. It's just that, let's say, one person is emotional, so they're not really able to listen, pay attention to you at this moment. They're thinking about something else. So communion hasn't happened, communication, true communication. Or let's say that one person is quite abstract, as in they're visually stimulated by experiential data points of what happened, whereas the other person is very logical and they're more visually stimulated by the patterns and charts and graphs and, a step-by-step plan as we move forward into the future. Those two coming together, depending on their connectivity, may cross wires. And then there are people like me, Ryan, you're like this too. We hear frequency. Anybody who's individual. The sound, word, vibrational frequency formula, the energetic impetus or the intention behind the word that you're using has a lot more to do with actually being heard than just the typing. Sound makes such a difference. So that being said, when the two of you get together and we're talking, me and Ryan, let's say if we had a communication together where no one else was listening, we'd have a much deeper connective field than we would if everybody's in part of the conversation and now we're having team meetings and we're really not connecting. We're not landing with each other because we haven't had the connective field of frequency meeting without the other people's influence. So the reason I say in person is different is because it is. All of us have different communicative availability, communion availability on the body side. Smell. Wouldn't you agree? You smell somebody and, oh, I love the way this person smells. Smelled my husband and was like, oh my God, I'm in love, or whatever the case may be. Sight. You see somebody on the internet, very different story than when you're standing next to them at the airport and going, God, you're like a foot shorter than I thought you'd be. If you've ever had long distance dating, you know what I mean. Oops, that didn't work, So definitely there's a lot of context there.
I think too, it's interesting to look at the charts of two partners and consider the type of work that's being engaged in. And you mentioned earlier having an electromagnetic connection in the format channel of concentration, right? There's I would think there'd be definitely an advantage to being in order to be able to share that fuel to focus and that power to master the details in physical partnership. But maybe for some of the electromagnetics where it's the awareness centers connected to the throat, that exchange may be different and less dependent upon that actual exchange of energy between partners.
Yeah. Big difference.
There was another question here about, let's see, projectors working well together. So do you have any general tips and tricks for projector partnerships, and in this context between an emotional projector and a splenic? So bringing that difference between inner authority processes.
Oh yeah. Let's take that at the end of the class. That's a great question. But for now, I'll tell you that Ra said the way that we're moving towards in the new era is type with type. Now, that being said, you put a projector and a projector together does not make generator, even if the chart says it does. So that's something that we really want to talk about when it comes to being productive, because yes, it depends on what kind of emotional or splenic projector we have. Just those two is not going to cut it when it comes to giving you better tips as far as tricks and techniques for working better together in business. Surface level, I'll say, for the splenic projector, let them be spontaneous and don't push your emotional projector partner to be spontaneous. For the emotional projector, let them take their time and don't push your splenic projector to not allow them to be their own authority and move with whatever the energy or awareness is bringing them to. Thanks for that. And we'll check in with the ladies too, if there's anything else you want to add. Anything, factors when it comes to working together. Mel and Naraya, you two have never met each other in person, but you've known each other for what, 4 years now, and have worked together quite a lot. What are your takes on partnership at a distance?
Well, it's actually really funny that you are asking about that specifically, because in context of the question that was being asked, even about triple splits, something that's been so, I guess it's just been a really beautiful part of my relationship with Naraya is not only understanding that she has a third line body, but in her being a triple split, it's like our relationship is really special. And we do a lot of work together. We work really well together. And yet it's so important that I understand how much she needs to be able to engage with all kinds of other people who have nothing to do with me. And that it's not not that I would ever be possessive over her, but having this knowledge of human design allows me to almost it's like such a gift to be able to give that to her, and to know even that what she takes in, what she investigates through these other relationships, there are always things that are going to come back and nurture our relationship and everything that we have to offer together as a partnership.
Mm-hmm. That's beautiful. Thank you for bringing that recognition forth. Naraya, for you?
Gonna make me cry. No, so it's really actually interesting, our relationship. We've known each other since 2000 and late 2020. So it's been a very long time, and we've been working together now. And like everything she said is absolutely true. And she's spontaneous. She's a single definition. She can process things really quickly, and it takes me a longer time. And I can sometimes watch her waiting for me to catch up. And she doesn't pressure me, and she waits for me to catch up. She doesn't give me the answers. She doesn't give me the solution. She waits for me to figure it out on my own, which is really important, because I just typed this in the chat too. With a triple split, you can't manipulate timing. You can't push the timing. Everything gets synthesized together when it's time, when all the pieces are there. And there's this impatience that happens a lot of times that other people have with me. And knowing this information, Melanie knows this information, I know this information, we can recognize, sometimes it takes us a little bit, but eventually we recognize we are designed so very differently, yet there is us working together. Knowing this is just easy. We've only had maybe 2 little scuffles where she changed something spontaneously too close, and then it was uncomfortable for me. But how can I not let her be herself too? So there's this give and take and this compromise that happens between the 2 different things. And the fact that we both understand this information makes it be easy. It's easy. It's easy to work with her. It's easy to work with you, Lavina, also. It's just easy because we respect the other person and their energetic makeup. We don't expect things out of them that they're not designed to do. We don't pressure them, and we do not expect them to do things that would be out of alignment with them. We respect everybody's authenticity. So yeah, that's one of the greatest things. Melanie and I are like opposites. So for us, people are always like, wow, you guys work together really, really well. And any of you that have seen us in any of the Ra TV or in the personal success question and answers, we do. We flow together. We almost finish each other's sentences because we can feel how the energy flows with each other.
Yeah, absolutely.
One more thing too that I would add, as a 5-1, where familiarity breeds contempt, Naraya is maybe She is one of very few people that I speak to every day. It's almost like something is missing if we don't talk. And it's just been a blessing to just get it, that for me to be able to even have a relationship like that with someone, I have to be able to kind of take off that hat, because our dynamic, I'm not here to kind of be that 5-1 projector for her in the same way as I would in my public role, if that makes sense. So it's not to say that the projection field isn't there, but I'm able to feel really comfortable with Naraya day in and day out. I don't feel pressured by her in certain ways that I could feel perhaps in other dynamics. So both of you have helped me so much to truly respect the need for space, and also to give time to process emotions, and also for me to recognize how easy it is to be operating from a place of pressure, and to be able to align more deeply with what is correct for me.
Beautiful. Thank you for their contributions of awareness. It is a magical thing to see each other as clearly as possibly can be, and allowing for that unique perspective and awareness and difference, and not to take things personally. I feel that that's one of the most important things that you can walk away with in studying your own human design and the designs of the people around you, is to see that they are doing what they can with what they have. And sometimes there are just some incompatibilities. And even though there may be some real challenges there when it comes to compromises that have to be made, we can still honor and nurture and respect each other being our own authority, rather than trying to make things different or personal, or have vendettas, or anything that has to do with that icky feeling inside of you when things just aren't working accordingly with what you expected they should or could or might or would be. So coming to grips with your design. Yeah.
I have one more thing to add too.
Please. Yeah.
So people out there watching might be like, oh, well, you guys were fast friends. You met each other and then suddenly you got along great. Even though we knew human design, we did not get along great. We could not stand each other. And we were in our foundation classes, so we were just learning the system. And the more we learned the system about ourselves and about how other people are designed, it developed into a friendship. So this is one of the things, like even complicated relationships with communication that is not good can be made better with this information. Mm-hmm. It can be made at the best, easiest, and just relaxing mm-hmm. even. So that was an important part to add of our little story.
Right, absolutely. More supportive and more successful together going further. So again, just because the chart shows manifesting generator does not make it so. It is one of the things that we'll cover as we go into the success series further, deeper. So now let's continue to make your experience a little bit richer if you'd like to. If you're done, feel free to leave, but we shall continue just a little bit more for some further considerations that are right for us to share with you. Again, not the whole story. I wish we could, but when it comes to the big picture view and all of the little details, we have to look at charts. There's so much to consider or factor in. So first thing is individuality, and one of the things that really makes relationships hairy, my mind wants to say, or difficult, are people who have, rightly so, to be in control of things. So here's an example of all of the individual channels in the body graph, and then that 21 is tribal. So individuality has a super keynote of empowerment. Empowerment is a big part of the picture when it comes to two people in partnership. Who's got the power? Are you going to give each other empowering statements or opportunities or availabilities to stand on your own and walk tall? Or are you going to put them under your thumb and force them to obey you? That doesn't make for a great partnership. you know? So that's one of the considerations. How much of that being, each individual, is rightly designed to be free to move in accordance with the pulse of energy. All of this energy here moves in a pulse versus the control mechanism of having to take control of things, certain things that are right for you to do. Those have to be considerations. Now, what happens if the two people come together and more individual circuitry is created as far as channels, the illusion of definition between the two parties? Then we have even more of this potential moodiness or sadness or melancholy as a genetic frequency that is created between the two of you. So respecting each other's individualistic nature or view, whatever it happens to be, that comes together. If you have a lot of individual circuitry, either individually or in the partnership, then this is going to be a very different relationship. People who are individual, like me, like Mariah, like Mel, we're different. Oh, Ryan too, we're different. We're just different. We're very different. Okay. If you've got individual circuitry too, you're different. I mean, really designed to stand out. And yet oftentimes when we're born, raised by well-meaning parents, they don't want us to stand out necessarily. They want us to fit in. They want us to belong, especially if the family is quite tribal, you know, belonging, as in people like us do things like this. Oh, don't do that. You're going to be, you know, why are you waving your freak flag or whatever it happens to be. Now, the strength of individual circuitry partnership is that you're looking at people who can create something new. So link all of those channels that you see to newness, as in difference, as in moving the needle towards something unique and individual and special. So seeing the other for their difference and not trying to make them, force them, push them to be anything other than what they already are. It's one of the gifts in aware partnership. So back to this channel, if you went through solo, you remember this particular area of the body graph we call integration. It's one super channel that's made by other channels within the body graph. So we're looking at these beings in partnership, not necessarily faring well. Depends on the rest of their design and indeed the connective field that they have with another. So when you're looking at this being, let's say their partner has the 28 or the 38 or the whole channel, they're more likely to turn their head at you because this integration being is more drawn to these beings who have this particular area of the body graph activated. It's an important distinction. So if they have it in their own design, then this part, this aspect of themselves, integration, can be empowering for others too. But just like that, all on its own, self-empowerment, I don't need you, thank you very much, I'm doing my own thing, going my own way. Now, if you have been raised as a being like this, and other people have told you, why are you self-centered and so selfish, and what's wrong with you? You have to share, or you have to support us, or whatever. And then made to feel bad because you haven't been able to turn your head towards the other and do whatever it is that they wanted you to do. No, you had to be yourself, you know, in response to be free. There is a lot of grace, we'll say, or compassion that can arise inside of any being. The moment that you understand or comprehend the genetic wiring from an authentic place, that to see that some people are just very different. And here I am waving the flag of difference. This is one of the greatest benefits of knowing what it's like to be yourself in partnership. You're different. And the two of you coming together, that's different than another being that you might be partnering with. Very different. Need for control, high. Lavina has this gate 21. And in partnership, when it comes to the relational dynamic of being ourselves in business and partnership, people who have 21s, they absolutely have a genetic requirement that they need to be in control. The moment that a 21 is not being given control. Let's say some 45 lords it over her and tells her what to do and takes away that control. It's literally breaking this person's heart. It leads to heart issues. Literally, this is the heart muscle. TMJ, also masseter muscle. So potential for jaw issues, stress, clenching the jaw, that kind of thing. So working in partnership when it comes to being a 21, people have to respect you for your ability to be in control or to delegate control. That's another thing that happens here with the 21. So great bosses when it comes to the other beings, allowing for them to be in control of whatever it is that they have a genetic potential to need to be in control. So here, look at some examples. Again, we have Princess of Wales, Diana, and John Lennon. Same thing happening here as far as gate activations that are there. However, one design is generative, so available to respond, so needs to be asked in order for them to respond, to take control or be in control. Now that control cannot come with the pressure to promise or prove. We have an undefined heart center. That ego center is not about the consistency of the availability to, let's say, initiate control. It's just not there. It can't be. This is a being who is designed to be available to respond. That energy has to be available and it has to feel satisfying, like it's something right for them to do. They cannot just say, I'm going to take control over you. That doesn't work. Especially doesn't work with someone like this, who is undefined in the throat. As in, this is not a manifester. This is a projector. And projectors are here to recognize and then be formally invited. Okay, invitation, biggest thing for a projector to consider with their authority. So in partnership, those are very different types. Same thing with a manifester is very different, defined or undefined heart, versus a reflector who will never have a defined heart, but with a 21 still needs their lunar process in order to know if it's right for them to take control. Now, control is a tricky business. We can come back to this in an example chart down the road. Another example we're looking at here between these two that I want you to pay attention to is the fact that we have a defined G center, the higher self, or the identity, role, direction in someone's life, being consistent, versus someone who has it open in their design, inconsistent. So what happens if you put those two together? Well, the undefined identity may follow the defined identity to the detriment of them being their own authority. Oops. So what happens is, I'll show you here an example. My chart, my husband's chart. Okay, you can see this thing happening where I have a defined G center. It's unconsciously defined. He's got an open G center. So in the beginning of our human design experience or experiments together, he knew about human design before I did, and I was all excited about it. Have you heard about this? And initially he was like, no, that's bullshit. I'm a manifester. He was very much into the law of attraction back in the day. Okay, so we come together, we're coming together, coming apart as far as relational dynamic until we finally tied the knot. And what we're looking at in the examples that you can see, he takes on my direction or role if he's not being his own authority. So initially he thought, oh yeah, I'm going to be a human design analyst too. Or I'm going to be whatever it is that I happened to be very excited about doing. Until we really started living and being our own authority. And then I could see our differentiation happen to where we very much can recognize each other's difference. Now in this example chart, we see two very different aspects here and here that are some of the most difficult channels that I have for us to talk about later, if you do have questions, especially on those, because those are, if I could hit that one out of the park for you, as in help you to see how different you are compared to your partner, that would really help you if you have one of these channels. Now, me personally, I've also seen difficulty here, and the other real difficult channel is this one right here. So I welcome my assistance communing with us once we get to the end of this presentation. Not too much more, because what I have in store for you is just a reminder now before we go to questions. That strategy and authority is your key to being able to make decisions that you can trust. The particular environment that may be correct for you now, in whatever years you're aged, might be different as you move through your 30s versus your 40s versus your 50s versus your 60s. It may feel like it's correct, and then it's not correct as far as a direction for you to take. So do yourself a favor, let go of the crutches of believing what other people say about you, and experiment with being your own authority, as in learn and know how to make decisions that are right for you. It is the thing that's going to be the most benefit for you. Can you be your own authority? Is it right for you to partner? If you use your strategy, honor yourself as your own sovereign. The age of dependencies being over, it's now time to step up into the awareness of your own divine divinity so that you can unlock the success of yourself in business. Next up, we're going into the small business design, and that's part of the software that you're going to be able to learn how to use if you continue on in the journey with us over the next year. Because partnership and finding the right partner and the right team, building a team, takes time. This next iteration of our success series is going to give you a lot more support when it comes to your business, whether you're being a solopreneur, entrepreneur, somebody who is working on their own, independent as a contractor or what have you, versus partnership, versus small group, or even the large group. Now, experimenting with being your own authority in honoring yourself as well as the other to be their own authority, that's the tricky business. That really is the tricky business when it comes to human design, fostering the correct partnerships for personal and business success. Yes, I can say, follow your strategy, be your own authority till the cows come home, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get it. And that's why I want to help you observe yourself by mentoring you, teaching you, coaching you, guiding you through this next year to determine the right partnerships. And if you experiment with being your own authority, you're going to see how life changes for you, regardless of what your type is. I warmly welcome and invite your questions, if you have them, when it comes to this experiential participant program, where the purpose of our program is transformation. It's not giving you another whatever to follow and then letting you do your own thing. It's guiding and mentoring. So in order for you to work successfully, I look forward to you continuing on in the journey with us when it comes to small business. Now, let's go take a look, real brief. I want to bring forth into the conversation these channels. Okay, so we're looking at the older version of my body graph software, my workshop, where I can highlight or illustrate on the fly. What I have done here is colored in red an activation on one side of the most difficult channels that we have, and colored in black the opposite side of the channel in these three most difficult channels that we have in partnership or in relationship. So real brief rundown, I'll tell you, gate 5s, hi, that's me, tends to have very fixed patterns. We are so fixed. We have a specific way that we like to do things, an order, a pattern, what have you. Whereas 15s, this is a love gate. It's the love of humanity or not. And because it creates channel definition between illusion, the illusion of definition between myself and my partner, it is another reason why we are attracted to each other. Now, we call this an electromagnetic attraction and repulsion. So sometimes it's like, no, I don't want to stay up that late with you and watch movies till the wee hours of the morning. I had to learn that the hard way in the very beginning of my experiment with my husband. These people, 15s, are so extreme, and they also bring reliability, a weird thing, in the small grouping, So it's the thing that gets a small group started team, business, what have you. We 5s are very attracted to the 15. This creates a very large auric frequency. So what happens? Ugh, why do we always have to do what you want to do, or whatever the case may be? Or the 5, it's very unhealthy for us not to have our fixed patterns. And so we lose ourselves in the process. What if the one being, or even both of you, don't have this G center defined individually? Then with the other person, you get into a specific flow. And what if it's a rut? What if it's not productive? What if it doesn't feel satisfying? And you get hooked in and locked in and, oh, difficult. What do? Simple answer is be your own authority, but sometimes that can be tricky when it's talking about, relational dynamics, depending on whether you work with them in person. If you're always together, like me and my husband, very different story than if you go to the office and, that kind of thing. Now, 36 and 35, relationally, we're looking at crisis and progress. Boy, if those two things could be more different, they are very different, just like these two, okay, very different. So while one person really wants to share his crisis with you, or hers, or their, or whatever, the other person is like, no, we've got to make progress here. So butting heads when it comes to the emotional tension or challenge or upset, angry, 2 of these 3 channels have potential anger within them. So angry and frustrated. Yeah, that happens. So what do you do about it? Obviously, in relational dynamic to your chart, we'll talk about that. The last one, before I bring in my team to bring their awarenesses of how this works for them, any recommendations. The most important recommendation I can tell you is to stay on your side of the channel, whatever it happens to be. So example, as I spoke about with Mel, she has the 45 and I have the 21. So she in charge and I in control in relational dynamic. Now, the same thing is happening with Jacob at Jovian Archive. He's got a 45. I've got a 21. Same thing with my husband. They're on the same cross. My husband is a 45. I'm a 21. So staying on our side rather than fighting over, let's say, ownership battle, who owns what, or who has what, or who's going to do what, or whatever the case may be. Just to know that these, when you're looking down at a chart, oftentimes what people do is they look at a chart and they go, oh, wow, you have so much of the other side of the channel. We're going to have a great relationship. 7 electromagnetic channels, or with me and Mel, I think it's 8. That is a lot more tension, potentially. It's not the ideal. What happens is when you have a lot of connection fields between you and the other, is that there's more potential for hate, not just love, but hate as well, or the dislike, at work. You ever hated somebody? Like, oh, I really don't like them, but you have to work with them. So you grin your teeth and bear it, or grit your teeth. You grit your teeth and bear it, How do you deal with that? First, understanding. Second, stay on your side of the channel, as in stay in your lane, stay where you genetically are designed to belong. And again, understanding, sometimes awareness is so powerful. The last thing, so I can let my assistants go, is how can you determine if you should start in solopreneur or get into the partnership? So solopreneur is if you're working at home in your own aura. You either want to be your own boss or you're already your own boss and you do your own thing. You're an independent contractor, whatever the case may be. If you're going to go into partnership, you've already got a partner and the 2 of you are excited to step into this journey together, to learn more about each other, to use the softwares, because you're going to have access to 2 different software, one for personal success and one for business. So especially if you're in partnership and you're thinking about making room for another in your relationship, like hiring on 2 or 3 more people, then you're probably going to want to do partnership. If you've already got 3 people in your team, especially if they're in person, or if you work regularly on a day-to-day basis with people in a team, small team, 3 to 5 people dynamic, Then you probably want to go into the small business opportunity that we have for you as far as the team dynamics, because each one of those different offers are going to access you a different layer of support and analyses. So today you've met the team that's going to be doing your analyses. We've got Ryan, we've got Mel, we've got Mariah, Melanie and Mariah. So all three of them are highly trained. They're going to be working with you privately and individually, as well as they are also going to be supporting me answering questions like we've just demonstrated here. So the lectures are not going to be live. My apologies, I just can't do that right now with the level of fatigue that my voice gets to. But we will have recordings that are revealed for you. And then later that week, you're going to get access to coming in live and asking your questions about you, your partnership, or your team, respectively. So one group for each individual level of support. And if you want to just observe, you're welcome to observe other groups. It's just that we're not going to take questions from you unless you're actually in that particular grouping. Okay, so it's a group thing. Lavina likes that when it comes to maximizing energy and resources and providing a lot of opportunities for support. That being said, I can feel my energy. It's been enough. So I'll let you go for now. Thank you so much, my team, for your sharings. If there's anything you'd like to say as we wave goodbye, please feel free.
I have something. So
Yeah.
I wanted to mention that if anyone is still not sure if the leadership program, the leadership success is correct for them, they can schedule a discovery call. Melanie still has some availability and I still have some availability. Ryan, are you filled up?
For the next 2 weeks, but I'm
calls?
going to open for the next 2 weeks, yes, but I'm going to open my calendar.
I cleared up a
afterwards.
bunch of space because
Oh,
I had a
good.
feeling that there were going to be people that were going to want some more info. So by all means, either through the website itself, I think there's a direct link now, and stay tuned for future mailings because there's going to be links there too for you to be able to book with each of us as we're available.
I just put in the chat Melanie's and my link. Ryan, do you have your link handy? I didn't have yours handy.
All three of ours are posted on the Human Design Mastery Leadership
Oh, are they
Success
now?
website now under,
Yay.
yeah, Loki got them
Okay.
there yesterday. So they're there now under our bios.
Yep.
So
Oh,
So that way
excellent.
you can meet with us if you want to, and we kind of explore what's going on, and we can talk to you about whatever your personal situation is to determine which would be correct.
Oh, it's way down there. Okay, here they are.
yeah,
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah.
And we even provide
it
a
easy.
place for you to submit your birth data so that we can actually have your chart. So that gives us the ability to give you even more precise advice.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Nice to have you here. Thank you, everybody, for your time and attention. You're very welcome. Bye for now.